Sometimes companies get into a funk. Sometimes companies have had shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
I think it's and I've worked for a couple of those groups where I said, look, we are literally changing the culture of this company. And so when you go to Glassdoor, just so you know, it sucks. I'm not going to hide it from you.
Yeah.
But here's what has changed since.
This is why we need you here now.
There are these opportunities. It's like when Best Buy in 2000 and the Great Reset, they had that big 400-person, 10% layoff. Mm-hmm. There were people clamoring and beating down Best Buy's door to go work there.
Yeah.
Because their mentality was, I can either A, help change this thing around, or B, it's going to fail and I'm still going to get paid and I can move on.
Right.
So there are these opportunities. Mm-hmm. So not every company's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I know a number of your team. I'm assuming 3 beers in, we're going to find out that Boundary is not perfect.
Right. There's some opportunities.
But that's the good part to this.
Right.
I don't want to go. I love going to work at companies that they're either growing fast and they need a hand, so it's stressful. Their process and strategy suck a little bit, so they need some help. Mm-hmm. No one knows who they are, so they need some help. All of those things are like groups I want to work with. I want to find the ones that no one knows about who are just fantastic opportunities to go work at. I think what happens is, a conversation I've had in a couple of days that'll take us on a tangent here, and companies change.
Yeah.
Who, when I work, is now at 140 employees, is not 100, is not 75, is not 50, is not 20. How many do y'all have?
10.
So at 22.
10 of this recording.
So when you double, employee 4 is going to freak out. Mm-hmm. Because this is way bigger than I was ever expecting. When you were at the nerdery.
Yep.
So where are they now? 500-600?
It's about 500, I think.
And you were 50?
Yeah, like 50, somewhere between 50
I can't even, jeepers.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, it was a completely different world every year.
And so Target evolves and Best Buy evolves. Mm-hmm. SPS Commerce evolves. And so I think what happens is we forget that we need to evolve. Mm-hmm. Another question from Minibar that I had was, what's the one bit of advice you can give me as a technologist that I should take forever? And they were super serious. And I'm not a serious dude. But I matched it and I went, if you stop learning, you're dead. And I totally burst this person's bubble because they had transitioned into technology. They had gone to a boot camp in another town. A fantastic reputation, already have a job, already making good cash. I said, but you think you're done. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, just like another career.
You just got started.
Yeah, you've got a long way to go.
I think about, how long... So how long's Ruby been around now? 6... I mean, really?
Yeah.
6 years?
Yeah, probably closer to 8.
And then, once upon a time, I was using a BlackBerry because there wasn't an iOS or an Android phone around. Things change that fast in a career. And if you don't evolve... you can be a .NET or a Java developer in Minneapolis, St. Paul forever, because there will always be a demand for those roles. Because these large companies, that's the stack they're going to use.
Yep.
Other than that, you better be going tomorrow night. I think it's the JavaScript meetup. I got the meetup invite. 190 people are registered for tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. Hell yes! I remember that meetup used to have 60 people when it was at Dev Jam in South Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And now you've got a Node, an Ember, an Angular. I'm missing one.
Vue.
Yeah, it's just there are all these opportunities to learn. You can learn online for free, or you can go to Front End Masters, Mark Grabansky's training group here in town, or you can go. Do not stop learning, because then you're expendable. Give me a technologist who can. Now I'm really rambling. Give me a technologist who can do business speak. I can never offshore you. I can't. There's a huge gap in our town right now for needing technical product managers.
Sure.
I'll tell you what, give me 50 of those people, I'll place 30, and I'll take the next 2 years off. That is the holy grail for me right now.
Sure.
The way I see our town.
Yeah.
A technical product manager. So kind of like back in the day, the way a BA, a business analyst was.
For sure.
If you can talk to an end user, you're talking to someone like me. And you can go to the CTO, the developer, the iOS developer, the UX person, say, this is what Paul, the end user, needs. And you can bridge this you're fine.
Yep.
You are highly sought after.
You
right
are.
now.
Yeah. Those are very rare.
I love the product folks who not just want, not because they have to, but want to talk to end users, that want to sit in on those customer calls, who they're so inquisitive.
Yeah.
You don't have to be that way, but if you are that way, UFTA. Did I just pull out an UFTA? I haven't done an UFTA in weeks.
It's good.
That's the person who I want to put on my team. Because if you're willing to go to a branch of a bank, if you're willing to just randomly walk up to people with a clipboard so you don't look creepy.
Sure.
The cool part about when they started getting the product team, because now they trusted me, they'd be like, "Hey, Paul, come over here." I'd be like, "What?" They're like, "Which button would you hit?"
Yeah.
Okay, now what would you do? Which color do you like? I was like their alpha tester because I'm like, what are we doing?
Right.
And they would never tell me.
Yeah. Which is perfect.
Yes. Like here's why I like recruiting. And here's why I would like to be a product person if I could. I like to know what makes people tick. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
Why this instead of that? What are you like? I think when you say to someone, like, what are you looking for? It's like when someone says to you, "Hey, Kurt, how you doing?" And you go, "I'm fine." Skip that. "Hey, Kurt, how are you really doing?" Is a fantastic conversation to have. Because you're getting past all the BS crap, the fakeness that we do.
Sure.
How are you really doing? And you could do that as a product person. Like, how would you really want to use this thing? To an end user? Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that natural curiosity that you have, which helps you, obviously, in the role and position you're doing, and I'm going to tack that on to what we were talking about, boot camps, because we're getting closer to the end here. And so one thing I really want to talk to you about is the people coming out of these classes, these schools, and these boot camps. Some seem to be finding jobs very quickly.
Yeah.
Others seem to be dormant and are struggling. If you could come up with a number one or top three things that you would say to those people that are feeling stagnant, what advice would you give them to feel like they were getting some forward momentum in this career switch?
So let's say, I did 4 months at Prime Digital Academy in downtown, helping them with the career job search curriculum with the students. And I love what Mark and the team have done there.
It's great. We have two grads at Foundry.
And what I love about what they do is not only are they just teaching people how to code and the why to it, but they're also so much soft skill education's gone into this. Like they're doing like sort of personal assessments.
Yeah,
and
like a Toastmasters type of thing too.
They do every week.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. What happens is, whether it's Prime or the Iron Yard, where I was an advisor for a while too, any of these groups, what happens is once you get frustrated and don't get hired right away, you stop writing code. You stop putting stuff on GitHub. You stop reading. And it's a natural, I've learned that watching people go through this, like it's a natural progression of like frustration, like, oh, I suck. Oh, no. Like, go find another go start learning React if you need to get your juices going again. Go volunteer somewhere. There are, your experience, right? The Nerdery having the Overnight Web Challenge. There are so many nonprofits in any part of the country, around the world, who need help. If you're a UX person, you're just getting into UX, and you've just graduated from a boot camp and you can't find a job yet, go find the nonprofit that you can most relate to and say to them, if I were to give you, I'm making this up, 20 hours, 40 hours, 60 hours, a month's worth of work, because your website sucks. Like the design doesn't work right, if I come in and help you with this, because this is where I'm at, and be honest about it. Like, I need some experience. I'm good at this. I am totally into what you do. Will you write me a recommendation letter when I'm done? They will. You can now say, hey, since I graduated from fill in the blank boot camp, or even the University of Minnesota or St. Thomas.
Sure.
I worked on these 3 projects. I have done this stuff. I've been attending the JavaScript meetup, blah, 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 blah. What happens is people sit in their home, and I'm going to be like really like stark about it. They're sitting downstairs with no lights on.
Yeah, right.
You cannot get into that funk.
So I've had this conversation. I've given similar advice to people, but I've also had other professionals kind of interject and say, well, 40 hours a week, you should not have to put in more than 40 hours a week, and don't get in that practice because people will exploit you and blah, 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 blah. And so yes,
That's
Paul,
fair.
Thank you for the advice. But I've already got a job at Applebee's where I'm trying to make ends meet, and I'm doing this UX thing, or I'm driving an Uber at night and this sort of stuff, and I've got a family and everything. When am I going to find time to do all these extra things?
So how bad do you really want to do this? And this actually goes back to, again, like the Great Recession, that period from spring of 2008 to late 2009. You did not look. If anyone experienced the Great Recession, it was a recruiter. No one was hiring.
Yeah.
So usually, like in the recruiter world, like we say, like a recession, we need a plan to have 8 to 12 months cash in the bank because that will get you through it. I needed 26 months. I didn't, for the record.
Right.
So like, and I had my father was going through some illness and stuff, and so there was a lot of financial stress. So I get it. But I would have people coming up to me at a place of worship where I'm doing a job search presentation, right? And they're in the 40s or 50s. And I remember 5 years previous, one of them was thinking about retiring. One spouse was thinking about retiring, and they had the kids' college education. Now the kids graduating into a recession. They've lost their job. I get all of that. So what are you going to do? Quit? The credit card company, the mortgage, the telephone, the car payment. You're just going to... You can't afford not to.
Right.
Literally, you cannot afford double negative, but you can't afford... Like I get it. It's hard. It sucks. And so what? You chose to go down this path. I was going to use the real bad F word. Freaking go after it.
Right.
It is hard. It doesn't come easy. I know, look, I've been self-employed for 20 years. I've had some fantastic years and some the 9/11, post 9/11 Y2K recession, I lived like a cockroach. I was 31 years old because I could. I was single. I didn't have kids.
Right.
I made it through the last one because of Twitter and the blog and having been speaking and have been busting my ass for a really long time. So at least there was enough business to survive pretty well. I am already thinking, okay, now I have a girlfriend with kids. I can't just survive the next one. So I get that it's difficult, and I get that it's hard, and there's a whole nother ramble another day about how I think companies suck at hiring junior developers.
Yeah.
But if you really want to change your life, did you really think it was going to be this easy? And I don't want to get in someone's face.
No.
Again, I have a large empathetic side to me, but at some point in time, you got to buck up. And there's no other answer. Or you can continue to work at Applebee's, which you didn't want to do.
Right.
So I bartended my way through college. And it's nice to have that liquid cash. It was fantastic. But if you really think about it, you were always broke. Yeah, you had money to go out again.
Yeah.
But you couldn't actually pay tuition.
No.
on a wad of $1 bills.
No, you just had enough to float to the next time.
Yeah. And so but you have to. You just have to. You have to get outside of your own head.
That makes sense.
And by the way, the hair standing up in the back of my neck and hypocrites going after my brain. Because I have my moments. Somebody at Minibar said a friend of mine from college was in my session, walked up to me afterwards, he goes, that's actually the best presentation I've ever heard you give. And he goes, when are you going to start taking your own advice? And I'm like, screw you.
Yeah, we don't need to have that kind of conversation.
No, we don't.
No. Just do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
and it's all fine.
I am a great consultant.
Yeah.
We talk about Minnesota Nice and passive aggressive, and we don't do a great job promoting ourselves. I am your poster child. It's just that when it comes to my clients, our tech community, you, the podcast that Casey, Kathy, and I are doing, I can promote that stuff all day with abandon. Sure. To say that I did something, hell no.
Yeah, no,
I still can't do it.
No, it's too Minnesotan, really. I mean, it's embarrassing. All right, so Paul, we're going to wrap up. So if people want to find out more about what you do, where you do, how you do, what you do, where are good places to seek you out?
This sounds arrogant, but going back to if you just search Minnesota Headhunter on Google, you'll find LinkedIn and Twitter and the blog. And I do a podcast based, sort of focused on the technology startup space here in town with Casey Allen, who's an entrepreneur and startup guy, and Kathy Grayson, who's the business writer at the Business Journal. It's called MSP on Deck. If someone's catching this, I suppose this might not be out in time for mini analytics next week, but then mini demo is going to be in second week in July. I think that if you're here in the Minneapolis St. Paul region, like the mini demo, the mini bar events. you should be going to those anyway. I will be there. Sometimes I'm there as an introvert hiding in the corner, just wanting to talk to my friends. But anytime anybody just wants to reach out and get some advice or whatever, whether it's on hiring and recruiting or they're just looking for some job search stuff, like I